It's a snowy winter night. You're inside your cozy house and watching a historical movie that takes place during the Middle Ages. As you take another sip of your hot chocolate, you can't help but wonder how the people survived the winter back then. At that exact moment, your TV screen suddenly turns into a portal and pulls you inside. Whoa! You open your eyes to find yourself within the world of the movie you were just watching. A man approaches you and says, "Welcome to my medieval village. I am Bartholomew, and I called you here to give you an answer to your question. First of all, let me tell you that conditions became extremely harsh when the cold arrives, and not just for the northern countries. Mainland Europe takes its share of the brutal weather too. So winter is kind of a slowing down time for all of us. You see, we usually associate winter with old age and poverty because of all the changes that occur in nature during this time. For example, we can't really grow any crops when snow covers all our land. And by the early 14th century, things started to get even worse because we started seeing the first signs of what you may know as the Little Ice Age. Cold temperatures peaked. Weather anomalies and extreme events such as sudden floods or hailstorms started to occur, which added to our agony. Take the winter of 1359, for instance. Across central Italy, the snow rose to extraordinary heights. People had to throw the snow into the streets to lighten up their roofs. And because of that, some towns were completely blocked. Their inhabitants were trapped in their homes for several days. Another example of this is the winter of 1389. The snowfall was so great in the Luzerne region of France that many people's farmsteads and houses were destroyed. Bartholomew notices that you start shivering. Ah, you were not prepared for this journey back to medieval winters, I see. Let's walk to my home and find you some warmer clothes. As you can see, I'm already wearing a cloak, a scarf, and mittens, which are all made out of wool. I also have boots that are made out of leather from a deer. Still, all these are not really enough to stay warm when one is outside. That's why we usually layer other clothes underneath them all to keep the warmth trapped. By the way, the wool can get heavy and itchy sometimes. So beneath our woolen outer clothing, we wear linen undergarments too. The linen acts as a barrier between the wool and the skin, therefore making things a bit more comfortable for us. It is also easier to wash linen clothes, and they dry way faster than woolen ones. The wealthier ones can line their winter clothing with fur, and us regular peasants sometimes use rabbit and lamb for the same purpose. It's not as glamorous, but still effective. We can also hunt some wild animals and birds with the permission of the Lord. Yet again, the sumptuary laws, in other words, consumption laws, are very clear on who can wear what according to their social standing. Take the 1363 English sumptuary law, for example. It states that the wives and daughters of craftspeople and land-owning peasants were only allowed to wear lamb, rabbit, cat, and fox furs. You notice a weird-looking hinged metal sphere in Bartholomew's pocket, and ask him what that is. "Ah, it's a hand warmer," he says, as he gives it to you. "If we are going to be outdoors for a long time, we bring one of these with us. Otherwise, one's fingers can get numb, you know. Now take a closer look at it, and you'll see that it has tiny holes on its surface. This helps the heat to escape, so that we can warm our hands without burning them once we fill it with hot coal." "That's kinda heavy," you say, and think about how lucky you are to be living in modern times. With just one click from the comfort of your home, you can order Hot Hands instant hand warmers from Amazon, and no coal is necessary. You can even put those inside your shoes to warm your toes, since they're pocket-sized, unlike this metal orb. You and Bartholomew arrive at his house. You realize that he does not take any of his outer garments off. "We keep everything on during the coldest months because the indoor heating isn't always great," he says. "As you can see, the fireplace stands here at the center of our homes, and right above it, there is a ventilation hole rather than a chimney, which causes us to lose so much of the heat. Yet again, we don't usually sleep in our outside clothes. Instead, we put bricks and stones in the fire, wrap them in fabric, and take them to our beds to warm the sheets. Wearing our nightcaps all night long also helps. And when we're not sleeping, we usually try to stay close to the fireplace as much as possible." You sure appreciate that hot water bottle of yours more now, right? And you didn't even need to cover it with a cloth, like these folks have to do. It already came with a knit cover for your convenience. And the best part is, it's much softer than a brick, and can be heated in the microwave within seconds. "How rude of me! I forgot to offer you something to eat," Bartholomew says. "I know I already told you winter means stillness for us, but we still need to put in some work to not starve. There's a lot of preparation to be done in advance to survive these medieval winters. First of all, we start gathering wood for the fire from as early as spring and through the summer. Then there's the food we harvest in the fall. We have to preserve that in a special way, so all will last over the winter months. The same thing goes for meat, too. The methods we use include pickling, drying, and brining. In terms of grains, cereals, and pulses, we dry them out and store them in ceramic or clay pots. We later use them for making potted stews and soups, in addition to vegetables. Basically, everything we can find goes into the pot. The most common foods we eat in our everyday lives include onions, peas, beans, lentils, and herbs such as parsley. We still have to include protein in our diet, though, and we do that by eating cheese, eggs, fatty bacon, or salted pork. In terms of fresh fruits and berries, they are hard to find during wintertime, so we preserve the ones we already picked by the air drying method too. You think to yourself, if only these people had a food dryer at home, their lives would be so much easier. They could use it for all the foods Bartholomew just mentioned, from fruits to meat. Then again, there's no electricity here. I wouldn't want you to think winters are so grim, long, and boring after everything I've told you. We still do plenty of activities to keep ourselves entertained, Bartholomew says. But what? It's not like they can binge watch their favorite TV shows. We play in the snow a lot, adults and children all together. You can see plenty of peasants ice skating on the frozen lakes. To be able to do that, we used to use pieces of polished wood or horse shin bones. But now, we have iron skates too. I need to mention though, here in Western Europe, ice skating is not as common as in Scandinavia. That is because they are more accustomed to snow and cold temperatures. Sledding is another fun activity we do. Then there are indoor games, such as chess, backgammon, and other dice games. Wool spinning and telling stories are also common ways to spend some nice time with our family. Not surprisingly, nobles have more opportunities in the entertainment area too. For example, boar hunting is very common amongst the elite. At that moment, a portal appears at the door. Bartholomew says, "Guess it's time for you to head back, traveler. Fare thee well."
Now, who would have guessed that the most important accessory in your car might be a nail file? In case you need to get your nails done right away? Nah, to refresh your wipers. Wipers have a rubber that cleans the glass. It wipes water and particles of dirt and insects off the windshield. Over time, this rubber strip gets covered with a layer of dirt, and the wipers stop doing their thing. So all you have to do is take the wipers off and rub them with a nail file. This will remove the layer of dirt, and your wipers will last for a few more months. This is especially important during the cold season, when you need to constantly clean your car of snow. This trick will not only help you see through your windshield better and make driving safer, but it will also save you a lot of money on new wipers. Hey, you parked badly and hit your car on a pole. Well, a small dimple can be fixed with an ice cube. Just lean a piece of dry ice on the impact site and voila! The bumper looks like new. But this method is only suitable for metal parts. It's about thermal expansion. When metal gets hot, it expands, and when it cools, it tries to shrink. So, when you put ice on the dimple, there's tension inside the metal that causes it to return to its previous shape. You can also use a regular suction cup like the ones they use to transport glass. Just stick it to the dent and then pull. A regular plunger that you use to clean a clogged sink will also work for this. Now, let's try to hide the scratches at the impact site. Try picking up a regular nail polish the same color as your car. Usually, scratches on the bodywork are not deep, and they only damage the top layer of clear coat and don't even penetrate to the layer of paint itself. A fresh batch of nail polish will fill the scratch, and your car will look like new. And if you've damaged your car windshield somehow and you see little cracks forming there, use transparent nail polish. Again, the nail polish fills in the micro hollows in the crack and keeps it from getting even bigger. Now, a couple of tricks to keep your car clean at all times. Boy, I could use that. Let's start with the headlights. If you can't get the headlights clean from insects after a long drive, use a regular shaver. It can scrape off unwanted dirt that is stuck to the headlights. You can do the same with the windshield, just don't press too hard or you might scratch the glass. And to keep your headlights clean no matter what, you need to take a regular candle and white spirit and common solvent. Grade the candle and pour it into a glass. Add the solvent to the glass and heat the glass with a hairdryer. Now apply this to your headlights or even your windshield. This will create a protective wax layer that will repel dirt and water droplets. You can also apply wax to your side mirrors and they won't get covered in water when it rains. If your headlights still do get dirty, squeeze some toothpaste on a dry rag and polish your headlights. Toothpaste does a much better job than conventional cleaners. Plus, they don't get cavities. To protect your car's bodywork from dirt and rain, use hair conditioner. Mix 1 portion of the hair conditioner and 2 portions of water. Apply this mixture to the car with a microfiber cloth. It's important to do it to the car when it's as clean as possible. It's perfect timing to do this after you wash it. Then wait 5 minutes and dry the car. This protection will now repel any drops of dirt and rain. Now to the interior. You may have noticed that the windshield and rear window often fog up. This is because the water that is contained in the warm interior air comes into contact with the cold windows of the car. Water condenses, turns into droplets, and stays on the window. Now, take your regular shaving foam and put it on the windshield from the inside. A portion the size of your fist is enough for the entire windshield. Wait a few minutes and wipe the windshield with a dry cloth. The chemicals in the shaving foam will repel water droplets from your windshield so it won't fog up. You can also fight moisture in the interior of the car in the first place. To do this, take an ordinary sock and fill it with kitty litter if your cat doesn't mind. Tie the sock up and just put it in the car. Kitty litter will absorb moisture from the air in the car and your windows will stay dry. And this sock can come in handy in a tough situation. So you're stuck in a field in snowy weather. The wheels are spinning in the snow and your car is standing still. Well, just sprinkle some kitty litter out of the sock right in front of your car's driving wheels. The traction of the wheels will get better and you'll be able to get out of the snow trap. But what if your battery is low in a deserted place? There's no one to help you start the car. Well, get a jack and lift the drive wheels of your car. Make sure you're doing it safely. Now, get a tow rope. You should always have one in your car. Wrap the rope around the wheel so that when you pull it, the wheel simulates movement forward. Put the car in first gear, turn the ignition key. Now start to quickly unwind the rope so that the wheel starts to turn. Voila! The car is started. It's like starting a car by pushing it. It's important to remember that this trick only works with cars with a manual gearbox. If you don't want to spill oil when you pour it into the engine, just put a screwdriver in the hole and pour oil over it. The more advanced option is to use the oil can as a watering can. The thing is, the threads on it fit perfectly with the threads on the engine hole. So take an empty oil can and cut off the bottom. Now screw the canister into the hole and pour oil without fear of spilling it on the engine. If a door handle or lock gets frozen in the winter, use regular hand sanitizer. It'll melt the ice almost instantly. You can also soak a key in hand sanitizer and put it in the lock. You should be able to open it in a few seconds. If you don't have antiseptic, take out an ordinary straw, lean it against the lock, and blow warm air through it. A few minutes of breathing and the lock can be opened. You're charging your phone in the car, but you're tired of long wires that keep getting tangled. No need to cut them. Take your charging wire and wind it around a pencil. Now blow hot air on it with a hairdryer. Just don't overheat the wire. How about that? It now looks like a flexible spring, and its length is much shorter. If you like lemonade or Coke, but don't have a can opener in your car, not a problem. Just use the tip of your seatbelt. Pop! And you can enjoy your favorite drink. If you live in the sunny states, you've often found that the steering wheel of your car sometimes gets so hot you can almost burn your hands. The easiest solution is to turn the steering wheel in the parking lot so that its bottom is up. Once back in the car, you can hold the steering wheel by the cooler top side. Also, if the car gets too hot in the parking lot, just roll down the driver's window. Get out of the car. Now open and close the rear passenger door several times. This will speed up the process of airing the interior, and you won't have to drive in an oven on wheels. When you get out of the car, you may sometimes get an electric shock. This is because of static electricity. You rub your clothes on the seat and then you touch the metal door when you try to close it. At this point, there's an electric shock between your hand and the door. To avoid this, open the door first by touching the body of the car with your hand. You can touch the passenger door from the outside. Then put your foot on the ground and get out of the car. Yay! You avoided an electric shock. If you're a novice driver, you may not have a good feel for the actual size of the car, so you might scratch it by parking it even in your own garage. Just hang a tennis ball from the ceiling so that it touches the windshield or rear window exactly when you need to hit the brakes. Perfect parking and no scratches. If you share the car with someone, you have to constantly move the driver's seat. To simplify this process, you can put little strips of colored tape on the panel under the seat and the driver's door where the seat is in a comfortable position. Now, when adjusting the seat, you just need to put these strips against each other. You can use different colors of tape for each driver. Or the other driver can get their own darn car. An expensive solution indeed. Yes, it is. Christmas, the season of lights, also has a dark side. Legend has it that Christmas Eve is a time for spirits to stroll the earth. Today, we'll look at scary monsters, mysterious entities, and more. The Yule lads, hailing from Iceland, make for quite a Christmas tradition. In contrast to the charming 7 dwarfs of Snow White, these 13 gnome-like trolls bring a touch of quirkiness to the holiday season. The Yule lads first made their literary debut in a 17th century poem. These playful youngsters, each with their own unique names and abilities, sprinkle a touch of mischief in the 13 days leading up to the grand Christmas celebration. Their cozy home is nestled in a mountain cave, where they reside with their interesting parents. The clan's father is a leisure master and prefers to hang out in the cave. Their mother is a giantess with an unusual craving for adventure. She seeks out mischievous children to join her in preparing a stew. Out of the troll kids, Spoonlicker, for instance, is known for his habit of thoroughly cleaning utensils with his tongue. Meanwhile, Door Slammer engages in door-slamming antics that might remind you of an angry teenager. As for Sausage Swiper, well, the clue is in the name. And let's not forget about the family's feline friend, who is also known as Yule. This furry companion is a giant black cat. It's on the lookout for folks. If it spots children without brand new clothes, the encounter won't end so well for the kids. Wow, that's harsh. The Nisi is a kind of creature that would send shivers down your spine. It's a diminutive bearded figure donning a sinister red cone-shaped hat. These malevolent beings enjoy lingering around farms. Their presence is unsettling as they claim to offer assistance with daily chores. But beware, for their demands are far from ordinary. In exchange for their eerie aid, they want a dread-inducing offering. Should you dare to deny this sinister request, they will unleash a reign of pure evil upon your existence. There's a nightmarish saga known as When the Nisi Got No Butter on His Christmas Porridge. Yeah, that's a real title. This tale revolves around a young girl who dares to tamper with Nisi's feast. She places the butter beneath the porridge, invoking his wrath. The horrifying consequences? He takes care of the farm's prized cow using his powers. Takes care, In Scandinavian folklore, many people know this creature as Tomten, too. Mary Lloyd is here to make you run for your life. It's New Year's Eve, and you're a young whelp. Suddenly, you hear some mysterious knocking at your door. As you swing it open, you're met with a spine-tingling sight. It's a tall, creepy figure wearing a long, flowing cloak with a horse's skull on its head. It's accompanied by a group of people who are chanting something in an eerie way. To make it even more unsettling, the horse skull has fake eyeballs in its eye holes, and its mouth is slightly open. This whole scene scares you so much that you can't even move. Not the vision of sugar plums you'd rather have. And then we have the Karakonkolos, hailing from the lands of Turkey and Bulgaria. Now picture a more sinister version of the elusive Bigfoot. The Karakonkolos lurks on street corners, posing riddles to passers-by. Answer correctly, and you may escape unharmed. But should you fail, you risk being plunged into a frigid slumber, even colder than the wintry night. In other corners of the world, the Karakonkolos revel in trickery, often masquerading as a familiar voice, tricking unsuspecting victims into venturing out into the snow. This eerie boogeyman is said to have originated from the Greek Kalakanzaros, its sinister influence echoing across the land. So, the Kalakanzari in Greece are a breed of goblins. For most of the year, they dwell underground, secretly plotting to bring about the apocalypse. However, when Advent arrives, they emerge into the human domain with sinister intent, sowing mischief and malevolence. These creatures are often described as dark, furry entities adorned with tusks and horns. They're male and curiously well endowed in their grotesque forms. Meet Frau Perkta, a character who comes from Germany and Austria. Now, she may go by different names, like Italian La Befana or Russian Babushka, but her modus operandi remains consistent. During the 12 delightful days of Christmas, she shifts between being a sweet, beautiful alpine goddess and a mischievous, some say mischievous, wrinkled hag, depending on your contact with her. She's quite the mood ring. If you've pleased her, you might just see a youthful presence. But if you get on her bad side, she's been known to perform a bit of DIY surgery. Frau Perkta is a remnant from Alpine paganism in the early Middle Ages. It's strongly associated with Berchtentag, also known as the Fest of the Epiphany, which happens on the 12th night after Christmas, on January 6th. As for her name, Perkta means bright one, a fitting moniker. Her look is complete with a knife concealed under her skirt. Careful sitting down. The next one is Krampus. His name is rooted in the German term Krampen, which means claw. It's a creature hailing from the eastern Alpine corners of Europe. Legend has it that Krampus takes it upon himself to playfully remind naughty children of the importance of good behavior on the evening of December 5. His methods are imaginative and way above having a chat with little humans. Meanwhile, his kind-hearted partner in holiday cheer, St. Nicholas, rewards well-behaved youngsters the next day during the joyful Feast of St. Nicholas. These traditions trace their roots as far back as the 6th century. Today, many European towns enthusiastically host Krampenslauf, or Krampus runs. People dress up as him at festivals. And for those with a penchant for sending unique holiday greetings, there's the holiday cards option. In an Alsatian legend, there's a story of Hans Trapp. No, not the Von Trapp family. Hans is a local figure known for his extreme greed and lack of moral principles. He resorted to practicing witchcraft and making pacts with evil forces in pursuit of wealth. He faced a dramatic downfall. He lost both his wealth and his place in society. To evade detection, he adopted the guise of a scarecrow and wandered the countryside. At a certain point, he became fixated on the idea of experiencing the taste of human flesh. Oh boy. God recognized that matters had spiraled out of control and struck Hans' trap with a bolt of lightning. He met his end, yet there are accounts of his spectral return on Christmas. Belsnickel is a character of German folklore. It's traditionally known for its unique role in guiding children toward better behavior, offering an intriguing contrast to the jolly figure of St. Nicholas. The term Belsnickel can be traced back to the fusion of bells, an older German term signifying fur, and nickel as a nod to St. Nicholas. Belsnickel is known for his visits to children, during which he engages them in friendly conversations and playful inquiries. Based on their responses, he may opt to reward them with a gift or employ a form of discipline, often involving a wooden rod. Belsnickel's origins can be traced back to the Middle Ages. The final touch is Grilla. She is a giantess who is able to sense children misbehaving all year round. She keeps a record of those children and sees them as snacks during Christmas time. Wait a minute, didn't we mention her before? If you ask this question, you're an attentive, devoted brightsider. We have indeed mentioned her, the mother of the Yule lads. Remember that crowded family with the black cat? Now, Pierre Fouettard was a butcher. He was known for his involvement in the cases of abduction and robbery, leading to tragic fates for children. St. Nicholas uncovered his gruesome acts and miraculously revived the children. In retribution, Pierre Fouettard was sentenced to a lifetime of servitude, accompanying St. Nicholas and managing wayward youngsters. Well, thanks anyways, but I think I'll just stick with Santa Claus. Oh, and the reindeer.
It's Christmas time, and I have fun wintry holiday riddles for you to solve. Let's start with a few optical illusions to train your eyes. First, look at this cubical tree. Which way do the cubes face? Both ways, actually, depending on how you look. Take your time and try to see them facing both ways. And in this illusion, you can see 7 candy canes. What do you say? Are they parallel? The diagonal lines make it way trickier. It definitely doesn't look like the canes are parallel, but they are. If you don't believe me, take a ruler and check for yourself. Another tricky question for you. Which one of the red snowflakes is bigger? A trick question yet again. They are exactly the same size. It's an optical illusion that makes you see them differently. Here's a wrapped present. Is it a present in the corner or a present missing a corner? Again, it can be both. Try to see it. There's the third way. 2 presents, one big and one small, next to each other. Now, how about you try to guess emoji-coded holiday movies? I'll give you a combination of emojis, and all you have to do is guess which movie it represents. Let's go. Here's the first one. A green monster with a dog. That's for sure the one and only Grinch. So the movie is The Grinch. Okay, good job. Here's the next one. Another holiday classic. Yes, it's our favorite, Home Alone. This one's a bit harder, but I think you can crack it. Yes, it's the Nutcracker. It's getting progressively more difficult. Can you figure out what this one is? It's the Polar Express, of course. Have you seen it? How about this one? Does it ring a bell? It's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And here's the last one. Do you recognize it? Well, that's pretty straightforward. A holiday elf can only represent another holiday classic, Elf. Okay, now let's play Santa. There are a few teenagers who don't believe in Santa anymore, so they didn't bother writing any letters with their wishes to him. Yet, Santa really wants to bring them gifts. He sends a few of his elves to observe the teenagers and decide which present would make each of them happy. Can you help them figure it out? Okay, here's the first room where Poppy lives. Which gift would be the best for her? It seems she likes beauty contests and makeup, so a makeup kit will be a good fit for her, don't you think? This is Arwen's room. What is the best possible gift for her? Judging from all the posters on her wall, she likes skateboarding. And what is right here in the corner of her room? A broken skateboard! She'd probably love to get a brand new skateboard, so that's for her. The next one on the elves list is James. Here's his room. Is there anything that will help you decide the best gift? He seems to be playing for the school's basketball team. So how about a basketball? Could be nice. The next person is Leah. Here's her room. What do you think Santa should get her? Look around. There's a book by her bed and hundreds of them on the shelves. I bet that Leah is a bookworm, so giving her a bunch of books would be a good idea. The problem is to decide which ones she hasn't read yet. And here's the last person to visit today, Neil. What do you think is a good gift for him? Well, Neil is obviously an artist, so some art supplies would be a go-to for him, right? Okay, great job! How about a few riddles? You can find us both in Harry Potter and in the Lord of the Rings books. Without us, there would be no presents during holidays. Who are we? Elves, of course. 24 doors, each day a surprise. In December's countdown, joy underlies. So what is it? It's an advent calendar. I have two colors. I'm minty yet sweet. So what is it? It's a candy cane. Sugar and spice in walls so sweet. What am I? An edible treat? A gingerbread house. I fall in the winter but never get hurt. What am I? It's snow, of course. And here's the last one of these. You can hold me and even shake me, but I'm easy to break. I have lots of snow, but it's all fake. What am I? And that's a snow globe! It was the winter holiday season, and Esme went for a walk in the forest. Of course, she got lost. Gladly, she found a witch's house, walked in, petted a cat, and asked the witch to take her home. But the witch wouldn't do it for nothing.
I will let you go if you solve a riddle. Look, I've got 4 frogs. Here are the names of the 3 of them: Carol, Eve, and Christina. What is the name of the 4th one? Alice, Jane, or Holly?
Can you help Esme? It seems like all names of the witch's frogs follow the theme of winter holidays. So, I would assume that the name of the 4th one is Holly. This one night a year, Santa Claus leaves his workshop at the North Pole and travels the world to deliver presents. Which direction does he travel first? Santa lives at the North Pole, so whenever he goes, the only way to travel from there is south. It's that one morning of the year, and Emma rushes down to see her presents. But there's also a letter from Santa, and here's what it says.
Dear Emma, you have been relatively good this year, but I can't look past a few not-so-good things you've done. I know you will do better next year. This year, I left you a gift, but you will need to find it. If you open the wrong one, everything will disappear. So, be careful. Your gift is wrapped in white paper, doesn't have a red ribbon, and isn't small. Happy Holidays, Santa.
Can you help Emma find her present? It's this one right here. White, gold ribbon, and big. Noelle is obsessed with holidays, and every year she wants to do as many Christmas activities as possible. Can you find all holiday-related objects in her house? Let's start with the bedroom. You need to find a gingerbread house, a candy cane, a Grinch costume, some wrapping paper, and paper snowflakes. Here they all are. Have you found them all? Now let's move to the living room. It's messy too, so you need to keep your eyes wide open. Can you find a stocking, a Christmas tree, Christmas lights, a nutcracker, and a poinsettia? There they are. How many have you found? When Mrs. Miller came home from work, she noticed that the presents she had prepared for her daughters were arranged differently. Someone must have sneaked in to look at them. Now she was determined to find out who it was. So she asked her daughters if anyone had been to her room that day. Diana said,
I didn't go there. I was decorating the tree.
Mia said,
And I was busy decorating the house.
Jessica said, I didn't go there either. I was building a snowman outside. Which one of them lied? It was definitely Jessica. There is no snowman outside, and there aren't even any footprints in the backyard, so no one has been there in a while. A similar situation happened with Mrs. Miller's friend, Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones had 3 sons, and she noticed that someone had sneaked in to look at the presents while she had been shopping. Here's what her son said. Jake said, I was busy wrapping presents I got for everyone. Here they are. Noah showed the cookies he made.
I was baking these cookies the whole time and never left the kitchen.
David said, I was outside shoveling the driveway. Which one of them sneaked in? The The presents are indeed wrapped, the cookies are made, and the driveway is really clean. But look, the cookies are burned. If Noah had really been watching them, it wouldn't have happened. He probably sneaked out to look at the presents, and that's why the cookies burned a little. It's Christmas Eve in 1945. George Sauter and his wife Jenny are at their cozy home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, celebrating the holiday with 9 of their 10 kids. Their oldest daughter makes the night even more special, bringing extra gifts for her younger sisters. Good night, kids. The couple heads to bed around 10, but they decide to let the kids stay up late to enjoy their new toys. Little do they know that right then, at that very moment, it's the last time their whole family is together. At midnight, the phone rings. Jenny wakes up and rushes downstairs to answer it. It's an unfamiliar female voice on the other end, and creepy laughter emerges in the background. Jenny says that the person has the wrong number and quickly hangs up. On her way back to bed, she closes the curtains, locks the door, and turns out the lights. She glances at her oldest daughter, who is peacefully sleeping on the living room couch. So Jenny thinks to herself that the kids must be upstairs in bed. Well, she probably should have double-checked that. It's 1:30 in the morning and Jenny wakes up once more. This time, a thick smoke is creeping into her room. Jenny and her husband rush out of the room only to find flames everywhere. Despite being completely shocked by the tragic scene, the couple and 4 of their kids manage to escape, but the other 5 kids are still inside the house. I mean, they must be, right? The thing is, investigators did a brief search of the grounds on Christmas Day, but they didn't find any trace of the kids. And that's strange. You see, the family's home was reduced to ashes in 45 minutes, and a body usually takes 2 to 3 hours to fully disappear in a fire. Could someone have taken the kids? Well, that's one theory. On the night of the fire, one witness indeed reported seeing a black sedan full of people speeding away from the family's house. And the chilling part is that some people reported seeing the kids in a car, at a restaurant, and even in a hotel on the following days. But none of these reports were confirmed. And not even a billboard with the missing kids' photo could give them any clues as to their true whereabouts. A disappearance case as mysterious as this one occurred in 1996 in Wilson County, Texas. Patty Vaughn was described as the kindest person in the world and an amazing mom to her 3 kids. On Christmas morning, she called her sister, all teary, saying that she had had a big fight with her husband. But that was not surprising because they were going through a tough divorce after 13 years of marriage. Later that day, Patty met with her husband at their house so he could celebrate the holiday for a couple of hours with their kids. But Patty had a different plan for the evening. She wanted to drop their kids at her cousin's house and enjoy the last hours of the holiday with her new boyfriend. Unfortunately, she never got to meet him that night. The day after the traditional gift exchange, Patty's boss found her blue Dodge Caravan on the side of a road leading to her home and workplace. But she wasn't inside, and she was never seen again. Have you ever heard of Britain's Roswell? Yep, that went down during the holidays, actually on the day after Christmas in 1980. On that day, 2 officers reported seeing a strange light in Rendlesham Forest, located in Suffolk, England. According to the witnesses, this strange flying object was fast. I'm talking about traveling 60 miles in just 2 seconds. A commercial plane, for example, would fly around 0.28 miles in that same time. So the officers thought that whatever was there, it was clearly under the control of the intelligence. Well, this story is quite well known, but there's another UFO mystery in England that's even more eerie. And it also happened during Christmas. Imagine being woken up at 1:25 on Christmas Day by a loud noise coming from the roof. That can't be Santa Claus, of course, but you start to question yourself. What started as the noise of branches hitting the roof becomes louder and louder until it sounds like giant hailstones, making you crazy. You stick your head out of the window and see nothing. absolutely nothing. The sound then turns into a hum, then into a faint whisper. What looks like a horror movie plot happened to Mildred Head in 1964 in Warminster, a small town in Wiltshire, England. But she was not the only one. Later that morning, another woman was walking down the street when she was suddenly thrown to the ground by the force of savage sound waves. Around the same time, a couple was surprised by a similar noise. They described that frightening sound as if 5,000 tiles from their roof were ripped off and then put back on again. In total, more than 30 people reported hearing mysterious noises that Christmas morning. That was just the start of what we now call the Warminster Thing, a decades-long enigma of UFO sightings, scary sounds, and cars mysteriously breaking down after these strange occurrences. Over 50 years have passed, yet no theory can fully explain what happened in the UFO capital of the UK. Santa Claus coming down the chimney, 8 tiny reindeer, stockings filled with gifts. This perfect holiday recipe is described in the "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" poem. But there's a mystery hidden in that iconic poem. You see, the verses were first published in a newspaper called the Troy Sentinel on the 23rd of December, 1823. But there was a problem. The poem didn't have an author. This mystery persisted for 21 long years until a language professor from New York City named Clement Clark Moore claimed authorship. Mystery solved? Well, not exactly. A letter from 1879 raises an intriguing possibility. The author of the poem might not be who we think. In this letter, the daughter of a New York poet and farmer named Henry Livingston Jr. says that "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" is actually her father's work. She was too young to have heard the poem when it was originally recited, but the family says that her father read the poem to his kids 16 years before it was first published in the newspaper. But don't get too excited, because this whole story will probably remain a Christmas mystery. The truth is that the alleged author passed away just 5 years after the poem's publication, never once claiming to be the real author. The holiday season is usually a peaceful time of the year, but 1997 was an exception to this rule. It's December 22nd, and Beth Ann Ricketts decides to do some Christmas shopping in the morning. She grabs her black purse and leaves her home in Des Moines, Iowa. She buys gifts for her kids and even decides to treat herself, choosing a special dress for New Year's Eve. Unfortunately, she never got the chance to wrap those presents. Beth Ann never returned home, and a series of strange events unfolded after her disappearance. Later that same day, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, a fire broke out in her house. In her bedroom, to be more precise, and the firefighters couldn't determine its cause. On Christmas Eve, TV networks in Des Moines were discussing Beth Ann's disappearance. Shortly after her story aired, her boyfriend called the police and informed them that she wasn't missing after all. According to him, Beth Ann called him, saying that she was okay and didn't want to be found. Unfortunately, she hasn't spoken with friends or relatives since that holiday, not even her 2 daughters and her son. And that's weird to say the least. So, her family is still searching for the answers to this mystery. You've definitely seen all of these places on the screen during at least one holiday season, but would you recognize them in real life? Let's start with some easy ones for a warm-up. The Rockefeller Center Christmas tree has enough lights for a small country, and it has starred in more than one movie. So in this one, there's an adventurous young man separated from his family. I guess you got me at separated. It's Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. This movie is packed with real-life locks in the Big Apple. Queensboro Bridge, Plaza Hotel, Radio City Music Hall, the Empire Diner, the Woolman Rink, and the Bethesda Fountain in Central Park are all real. Don't look for Duncan's toy chest in the city, though. The facade used in the movie is actually the Rookery Building in Chicago. Kevin's uncle's house has a New York address in the movie, but in reality is a building in Universal Studios in Los Angeles. Alright, let's move on to our second location. Here's a hint for you. This building is an upscale department store in London. I hope you guessed it's Selfridges. And this is where one of the most famous scenes from Love Actually takes place, where Mr. Bean carefully wraps Alan Rickman's purchase at the jewelry counter. They say the founder of Selfridges coined the phrase, "The customer is always right." So I guess he wouldn't have liked Mr. Bean's work. While we're in this part of the world, how about a brief visit to Durham Cathedral? Does it look familiar to you? Anyone who has used the holiday season as an excuse to watch Harry Potter again will recognize this building. In the first movie, it played the part of Hogwarts on multiple occasions. Here, Harry releases his owl Hedwig, and Hagrid talks to the famous trio. In the second part, it's the place where Professor McGonagall teaches students to change animals into water goblets. How about this location? I know it's impossible to trick you. It's Harry Potter again. Alnwick Castle in Northumberland in northern England is the place where Harry and others learn to fly broomsticks for the first time. You can visit this place as it often has events and has some cool exhibits related to the saga. This house looks too good to be real, but it is. Do you remember seeing it in any holiday classic? It's Ralphie's house from A Christmas Story. You can visit it any time of the year in Cleveland, Ohio, and even stay overnight. There's also a museum across the street with costumes and memorabilia from the movie and rare behind-the-scenes photos. Moving on, does this location ring a bell? If you've seen it once, you'll never forget it. It's a Wonderful Life is one of the holiday classics. It was set in a fictional town in upstate New York and filmed in a movie studio in sunny Los Angeles. But a town called Seneca Falls claims to be the real-life prototype of Bedford Falls. It has a similar location, houses, downtown, and of course, the iconic bridge where it all begins. The director had a family in the area, so they say he stopped here for a haircut while working on the movie. If you're craving some holiday magic, you can visit It's a Wonderful Life Museum in the former movie theater. Let's make things a little bit harder, shall we? Do you recognize this beautiful house? Well, it doesn't scream winter because it's a luxurious mansion in Southern California that became famous after The Holiday. The villa where Cameron Diaz's character lives was designed by a famous architect, Wallace Neff, as his own house in the late 1920s. It was built in the Mediterranean style and has a lot of beautiful details. But you don't see them in the movie because the interiors were on a separate soundstage. Several years ago, the mansion was on the market for around $12 million. This village looks like it comes straight from a fairy tale, but it's real, and you will easily remember it if you've seen this holiday classic. Did you get my hint? The Holiday Classic. Yep, it's the village where the second main character of the beautiful love story lives. You won't find Iris's house here because even the exterior was built for the movie. But the village itself is probably the most photographed place in Surrey, England, and it's called Sheer. It has some small shops, a tea house, a museum, an art gallery, 2 pubs, an old church, and the cutest old footbridge across the stream running through the center of the village. They had to cover the whole place in artificial snow to make it look like an idyllic December. Okay, I know you know what this building is, but what famous scene from which holiday movie was filmed inside its elevator? Yep, I think I gave it away when I said elevator. It's Elf, of course. The ever-awesome story of a human who was raised amongst elves at the North Pole, but eventually found his way to New York. I have to disappoint you though. There aren't really that many buttons inside the cabin, and they don't look like a Christmas tree. This landscape looks nothing like December, but the movie in question features some awkward family lunches and ugly sweaters, so trust me, it belongs here. Are you ready for the big reveal? It's Bridget Jones's diary. Stoke Park is where the bad guy, Daniel Cleaver, took Bridget for a weekend. The estate has more than 900 years of history, and it also starred in 2 James Bond movies. Wow, I wish I could teleport to this location right now. But whom would I meet there? Well, this is Bohemian Switzerland in Czechia, and you'd meet Lucy, Edmund, Susan, and Peter there. all the famous characters of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. They filmed the summer scenes in New Zealand, and this place played the role of the Winter Wonderland. Shopping for gifts can be a tiring experience, especially when you do it at the huge Mall of America. Can you remember the characters in which movie chose this place for their last-minute holiday shopping? Jingle All the Way shows us the commercial side of the holiday season. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad are two fathers who have one mission: to get a Turbo Man action figure for their offspring. The largest mall in the Western Hemisphere seems like the best place for that purchase. And while we're on the topic of malls, can something be more about holiday shopping than the giant Macy's flagship in New York? The characters of this movie know it well. I'm sure you had no problem guessing it was the good old classic Miracle on 34th Street. You can still ride the original wooden escalators and meet Santa on the 8th floor. They say Macy's didn't want anything to do with the remake of the movie, so the C.F. Kohl's department store from the newer version is the facade of the State of Illinois building in Chicago. Now let's see how well you know the more recent Christmas movies. This beautiful garden appears in one heartbreaking festive season story. Can you name it? The Phoenix Garden is a community garden in Covent Garden, London, and this is where Kate from Last Christmas realizes the scary truth about the guy she's in love with. Wow, that is one festive place. Do you remember it from any movie? It's the Princess Switch, where the Duchess of Montenaro switches places with an ordinary woman from Chicago. Montenaro is not a real place, but its royal palace is. It's Hopeton House near Edinburgh, and it's been home to the Hope family since the late 17th century. It should reopen for visitors in the spring of 2024 after a reconstruction, in case you want to stop by. How many locations did you get right? Let me know in the comments below. We all know Grinch, the big, fluffy green dude who can't stand our favorite winter holiday. The character was created by Dr. Seuss, and he first appeared in his book in 1957. By the way, Grinch wasn't green in the book. It was black and white. Also, if you're wondering how old Grinch is, he's 53, the same age Dr. Seuss was when he wrote the book. But let's learn more about the character. We all know how the story goes. A furry creature is living in seclusion on a cliff outside the town of Whoville. The citizens are obsessed with the winter holiday and make such a big fuss around it every year, and also a lot of noise. Grinch lives on Mount Crumpet, away from everyone, but can still hear happy people. He's annoyed with joyful citizens, their happiness, and the holidays, so he decides to cancel the holiday. He steals all presents and decorations the night before it. His plan doesn't work quite as planned. The next morning, he finds the citizens singing joyfully anyways. This makes him understand that the holiday spirit isn't about gifts and decorations. So, in the end, he comes around, returns everything he had stolen, and even celebrates with everyone else. The original story from Dr. Seuss, which only takes about 12 minutes to read, got immediate recognition and became a symbol of the winter holidays. There were offers to animate it, but the author was very resistant to animating any of his books, for several reasons. Reason number 1. He didn't want the series to become more famous than his books and didn't want a movie or animation to be the first thing people think of when they hear about his work. The second reason is that Dr. Seuss was super meticulous and he felt like no one could fit his standards. In the 1960s, a guy was continuously approaching him with the idea of animating the Grinch story. The guy was a great animator that was as perfectionist as Dr. Seuss himself, and he broke the ice by sending the author an amazing depiction of Dr. Seuss's famous character, the Cat in the Hat. After some negotiations, Dr. Seuss gave his permission for a TV adaptation of Grinch. 9 years after the book was published, the first animated TV adaptation aired. Dr. Seuss, the author of the book, wrote the lyrics to all the songs in the movie. Also, even though the Grinch was black and white in the book, in his TV adaptation, the director, inspired by the green rental cars he had driven, made him the same green color. We all think this green makes Grinch kinda chic, even though the intention was the exact opposite. Anyway, Since then, Grinch was established green. Also in the book, the citizens of Whoville were furry and they weren't wearing any clothes. They also didn't have shoes, but female residents of Whoville had high-heeled feet, so the cartoon was quite adjusted. The animation was an absolute success. It still sits with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, claiming the movie to be an ultimate holiday story. The Grinch was named one of the greatest cartoon characters of all time. The word Grinch is now used in everyday language. This is what people now call a grumpy person with an anti-holiday spirit. People wanted more. Fans were constantly writing to Dr. Seuss, asking for more Grinch content. In 1977, which is over 20 years after the release of the original story, the author wrote a Halloween film, Halloween is a Grinch Night. The next appearance of Grinch was in the famous 2000 live-action movie starring Jim Carrey. The movie was so exciting that even Queen Elizabeth II herself attended the London premiere in London. The movie got mixed reviews, but it's widely loved by people across the world. And Grinch is one of the actor's most iconic performances. Other actors who were considered to play Grinch were Eddie Murphy and Jack Nicholson. The role wasn't easy for Jim because of the heavy makeup he had to get into every time to become Grinch. The first working day lasted about 8.5 hours. However, rumor has it that the preparation was so long that the actor almost quit the movie, saying that it was too much. Gladly, a solution was found. A CIA counselor was hired to teach Jim suffering resistance techniques to help him go through the makeup process, which was pretty complex. It would take around 3 hours to do the makeup and get into the costume, and an additional hour at the end of the day to scrape the makeup off the actor's face. Jim Carrey went through the makeup chair around 100 times. This is 400 hours or 16 days in total of just sitting still in a chair, doing nothing, and not even being able to itch whatever was itching. The actor said that after going through it so many times, he learned to be the calmest person, no matter what. Still, the way to Zen wasn't easy. The director of the movie decided to support him. One day, he got all the makeup and the costume on too, and spent the whole day on set directing, dressed as Grinch. When Jim first saw the director in the costume, he thought it was a stunt double and got angry, saying that the dude looked nothing like him. Just imagine what it looked like when two Grinches were interacting on set, a taller one and a shorter one. I'm sure that everyone around had a blast. By the way, the fur that is used in the costume is yak hair that's dyed green. The yellow lenses were important so that no one recognized Jim behind the costume and could only see Grinch. Those lenses were the biggest problem and were hurting a lot. At times, Jim absolutely couldn't tolerate them anymore, so in some scenes, he acted without them, and they were added later in post-production with CGI. But what happened to Grinch after the day when he decided to celebrate with the people from Whoville? He probably lived happily ever after there with his new friends, but fans have a theory even about his afterlife. They say that Jack Skellington from Tim Burton's movie is the Grinch in the afterlife. Let me spill some facts. First, Tim Burton could have directed the 2000 Grinch movie, but in the end, the director's chair was given to Ron Howard. Grinch's heart grew 3 times bigger, symbolizing both that he became a better person, but also that his love for the winter holiday supposedly grew big. Supposedly, Grinch loved the holiday for the rest of his life. So if he really became Jack Skellington in the afterlife, it explains Jack's sudden obsession with the holiday. He doesn't remember his previous life, and he doesn't remember the holiday. But he immediately gets obsessed with it because his heart remembers the love and it draws him. But also, both characters have cute sidekicks. Both of them have dogs. Grinch's dog is Max, and Jack's dog is called Zero. Zero can very possibly be Max as a ghost dog. There's no official confirmation or even comments regarding the theory, but it's an interesting suggestion, and if the movie does exist in the same universe, I'd say that it's a perfect way to combine them. There's another fan theory that possibly explains how Grinch got his dog. As we know, Grinch lives on Mount Crumpet, outside Whoville. Every year he gets unwanted gifts from the town that citizens dump in the trash chute. So, some fans suggest that one day, Grinch discovered Max there, who was once someone's holiday present. But it's not the only theory. Grinch occasionally visits the mailroom in the town, so he could have picked up stranded Max somewhere there once. Another unofficial story called The Grinch Meets His Max, published in 1998, tells how the dog got lost on Mount Crumpet, and Grinch found him there and took him home. Both misfits found each other, and that's what's most important.
This Christmas, Jake decided to play a game with his sons. He would only give them their Christmas presents if they could win at his game. He would ask them a series of questions, and they would get as many gifts as they answered the riddles correctly. Jake asked his first son, Gabriel, "What do snowmen call their offspring?" Do you have any idea how to answer this riddle? They call them children. Duh. Then Jake asked his only daughter, Julia, another question. "Knock, knock," he said. "Who's there?" she answered. "Tree," Jake said. "Tree who?" Can you guess the answer to this riddle? It's the Three Wise Men. This one was definitely hard. His kids were doing so good that he decided to switch it up a little. He asked his son Aaron, "What do you call a disrespectful reindeer?" What's the answer here, huh? Well, let's see. A disrespectful reindeer is a Rudolph. For his last question, he asked all of his offspring together, "Where do Santa and the elves go to swim?" What do you think they answered? The North Pole, of course. On one of his trips, Santa brought with him some delicious walnut cookies. He kept them in a jar, waiting for the perfect moment to eat them. But one day, he got home from a day of work and found that his cookies were gone. He decided to interview his elves to find out who might have eaten his cookies. The first elf told Santa that he was making peppermint swirls with Mrs. Claus all morning. The second elf said he had spent the afternoon making homemade peanut butter for Christmas Day. And the last elf said he spent the day keeping an eye on the reindeer so they wouldn't fly away. Santa immediately knew who had eaten his cookies. How did he know? Take a look at the second elf's tongue. It's completely swollen. Elves are allergic to all types of peanuts, swollen from eating the cookies. Plus, his alibi is fake. If he had spent the day making peanut butter, he would have gone to the elf hospital for sure. At Somerville Middle School, the teachers decided to play a prank on their students to make the holiday season more cheerful. The principal announced on the speaker that there was a robber on the loose. The robber was dressing up as Santa and robbing laptops inside the school property. Students were told to beware. At the end of the school day, 5 students had photographed different people dressed up as Santa around the school. Take a look at the photographs. Can you figure out who the fake thief is? The thief is the second Santa on the left. Take a look at his shoes. They're much bigger than the other shoes. He must be hiding something inside of it. In 3 different parts of the world, 3 Santa Clauses are getting ready for their big night. They're about to leave the comfort of their homes to go and distribute gifts all around the world. Take a good look at the image below. Which Santa isn't ready to leave? He's the one in the middle. He still doesn't have his belt on. He can't leave without his belt. And speaking of spotting the real Santa, take a look at these 2 chimneys. Can you tell who is the real Santa? Take a look. The guy on the left has huge legs, and there's some green fur poking out of his pants. It must be the Grinch. The real Santa is the guy on the right, that's for sure. Daniela is a new detective in town, and there's an urgent case for her to solve. At night, someone robbed a mall and stole all the presents prepared for the winter show. In the morning, The videos from the security cameras were analyzed, and the police found 3 main suspects. All of them were interrogated. Bernard said, "I have nothing to do with it. I came from work yesterday and was watching football until I fell asleep." Samuel said, "Today, in the evening, I was so tired, so I just went to sleep and you woke me up." And Jason said, "I was studying all night for my exam in the afternoon." Who should Daniela arrest? Both Samuel and Jason look very tired, but only Jason has a valid reason for not sleeping. But Samuel called the previous day today by mistake, which means he probably didn't sleep at night and there was no difference for him between the 2 days. It was definitely him. Santa arrived in LA to give out gifts for children in the region. He parked his sleigh on top of a family's home and traveled down their chimney. He left their gifts under the tree and decided to check if the family left some cookies for him to snack on. He found the dinner table set with delicious meals: candy canes, hot chocolate, gingerbread, and a turkey. Can you tell which food doesn't belong at a Christmas table? The turkey. They're usually eaten during Thanksgiving, not Christmas. Well, in some homes. On January 1st, Devin called the police to report a crime. He says he went to his neighbor's New Year's Eve party the night before, and during that time, someone must have broken into his house and stolen his laptop. When the police asked about the party, Devin said it was great. There was good food, and the tree lights in his house were shining brightly and beautifully. Devin added that he thought that his neighbor could have been the one that stole his things. Maybe he snuck inside the house when Devin was at his place having fun. The police officer went next door to interrogate Devin's neighbor, Tom. However, as soon as Tom opened the door, the officer knew he wasn't guilty of the crime and also that Devin was lying. How? Look at Tom's Christmas tree. There are no lights, meaning it was probably not even working on the night before. Devin was lying. He probably just wanted to get some insurance money. 4 Santa Clauses were flying aboard a commercial flight. But just before the aircraft was about to take off, the airline got an anonymous call saying that someone was trying to smuggle illegal goods into the aircraft. So they had to check everyone's bags. Each bag went through the X-ray machine again. The first Santa was carrying an extra pair of wigs, shoes, and costume. The second Santa was carrying shaving cream, a book, and several naughty or nice lists. The third Santa had a stash of money, a laptop, and another wig. And the fourth Santa was carrying a few gifts and some gingerbread. Can you guess which Santa is a criminal? It's the one carrying the shaving cream. Santa never shaves his beard, so he must be hiding something inside it. Jenny ran into her comedian friend on the street during the holiday season, and he was on fire, asking her to answer all of his riddles. The first thing he asked Jenny was, why is Santa really good at karate? Because he has a black belt. Way to go, Jenny. Then he asked her, if December 31st is the end of the year, then what is the end of Christmas? The letter S. Well, that sounded obvious. For his grand question, he asked Jenny, what do you call a person who is afraid of Santa? The answer? Claustrophobic. Christmas is just around the corner, but you received a letter saying you didn't make it to Santa's nice list. You were naughty all year long and are not getting any presents unless you prove you are filled with Christmas spirit. Now, what would you say is the best way to do that? Praying, dancing in the middle of the street, or singing Christmas carols? Well, it's definitely the last option. Carols are the best way to spread Christmas cheer.
When you were 10 years old, your parents finally revealed the harsh truth to you. Santa is not real. But you refused to accept that and promised yourself that you would find Santa and prove to everyone that he was real when you grew up. But many years passed and you forgot about your promise. One night, right before you fall asleep, you start hearing a jingling sound. You open your eyes and see a snow fairy. She says,
Answer my riddle and receive your letter. What comes with a winter's chill, adorned with lights that give a thrill, has branches dressed in snowy frills, and stands in homes on windowsills.
the answer is a Christmas tree. The snow fairy hands you a red letter and flies away as fast as she can without telling you who it's from. You open it and read, Dear Believer, I know you're wondering who I am. The answer lies in this riddle. I journey forth when stars are bright, in a cloak of night, not a sound in sight. Bringing joy from lands afar, on my sleigh I soar, neath the polar star. Can you figure out who wrote the letter? It's Santa Claus! At that moment, you hear a jingling sound coming from the living room downstairs. You rush there to catch sight of what's causing it and spot an elf waiting for you by the tree with 3 different gift boxes in front of it. It tells you to pick one of them. Which one should you choose? Take a look at the tag attached to the first gift box's ribbon. It says, Delivered to Thomas Kirtland, age 9. So that belongs to someone else. And notice how the wrapping of the third gift box is damaged from the corners? That could only mean it's already opened. So you should pick the second one. You open your gift box and find a map that shows where Santa lives on the North Pole. You ask the elf, But how am I supposed to get there? The elf says, The answer to your question lies within this riddle. Leading the pack with a light so rare, my shiny beacon cuts through the air. In fog or blizzard, I steer clear. Name me, I'm the sleigh's bright pioneer. Can you tell what that is? The answer is none other than Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Rudolph flies you to Santa's house on the North Pole. But as soon as you land, you realize that you made one huge mistake that might put you and this whole mission into danger. What is that? You didn't get a coat, a beanie, or a scarf to keep yourself warm. Fortunately, you spot Santa Claus's house right in front of you and run there to get warm. But something you see makes you suspicious. What is that? The door to Santa's house is open even though there's a snow blizzard outside. That doesn't seem normal at all. You hesitantly enter the house and start hearing screaming coming from the end of the hallway. You rush there to check what's going on and find out that there's a door. Unfortunately, it's locked with a 3-digit password padlock. Behind the door is Mrs. Claus asking for your help to free her. Luckily, there are clues around the place about the password. Can you spot them and unlock the door? The first clue is here. A traditional advent calendar is hanging on the wall with only one window open, showing the number 3. This is the first digit. The second clue is right here. A string of jingle bells hangs above the fireplace. there are 6 bells in total. So that's the second digit. And the last clue is here on the shelf. Take a look at this snow globe. Inside it, there's a tiny statue of number 4. And that's the last digit. Once you free Mrs. Claus, she explains to you that the original Santa has been tied up for many days now in the North Pole prison, while the evil Krampus pretended to be him. She hands you a magic key and asks for your help to save him and the holiday. So you set off to this prison, with the right clothes this time. You spot the scary building ahead, and there are 3 different ways that will lead you there. Which one should you choose? A. The icy tunnel. B. The frozen forest. Or C. The snowy bridge.
Uh-oh.
The tunnel is filled with sharp icicles that can collapse at any time. That's dangerous. As for the forest, do you hear the distant growls of wild animals coming from there? Better not risk encountering them. You should pick the bridge because notice the footprints on the snow across it? That indicates someone just used it recently, suggesting that it's good to go. There are 3 prison cells inside the building, and inside each of them, there is one Santa lookalike. 2 of those people are imposters, and one of them is the original Santa. However, you have only one chance because the magic key Mrs. Claus gave you before will break after a single use.
Uh-oh.
You must free the real Santa and save the holiday once and for all. Which door do you open? The Santa behind the second door wears a pair of round spectacles. While he fits the image of Santa, his spectacles don't have any lenses in them, which suggests they're more for show than for use. As for Santa behind the third door, do you notice how his beard slightly shifts when he moves? So, it's just a well-made fake. So you should free the Santa behind the first door. Congrats! You just saved Christmas. And hey, Santa is real indeed. Johnny and his family arranged a photo shoot to prepare this year's Happy Holiday card. The photographer took 3 photos of them. But when they checked them, there was something weird in all of the photos. Take a look at the first photo they took in the living room. Can you tell me what's weird here? You can see from the window that it's not snowing outside. But check the mirror on the wall here. You can see snow on the reflection of the window. Now, look at the photo they took in the backyard of the house. What's strange here? Take a look at the chimney on the roof. Something's stuck there. It's Santa's gift bag. Here's the final photo they took in the dining room. What's odd here? Take a look at the long velvet curtains here. Someone's hiding behind them, but they didn't do a good job. You can see their feet sticking out. Let's just hope it's Santa. Janine's boss was leaving the town for the winter holiday, and she wanted Janine to take care of her mansion while she was gone. Before leaving, she mentioned a security code, which once entered into the system would activate an electrified gate to keep out intruders. During a snowstorm, Janine noticed burglars approaching the mansion, but realized she had forgotten the code.
Oh no!
Luckily, her boss also left her a clue which read, "When trees are bare and skies are gray, nights lengthen to outlast the day. In this time, the cold winds whisper. What brings this frosty, chilling picture?" The answer is the season of winter. So Janine needs to enter the word winter on the digital control pad. Nellie, Peter, and Orly rented a country house to celebrate the holiday season together. Unfortunately, the owner of the place forgot the presents he got for his family inside. But when he came back to get them, there were no presents. Assuming they got stolen, he called the police. Once she arrived, she asked all three friends what they were doing when the robbery took place. Nellie said she was watching the TV in the bedroom. It was so loud that she didn't hear anything. Orly said she was decorating the Christmas tree with the ball ornaments in her hand. And Peter said he was building a snowman outside and didn't know what was going on in the house. Can you tell who's lying? Orly is lying. There are no balls on the tree.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you